this week's episode of Think Tank Thursday. I'm Candy Kelly, and I'm excited to be your host for this week. Thank you for taking your time to join us. Before we jump in, I always have to give shout out to the people who make Think Tank Thursday possible, and that's my 2022 Think Tank sponsors, Party Center Software, Betson, Embed, Simnox, and Redemption Plus. I could not do this without them, and so we are very grateful for them. On Thursdays, Trend Entertainment likes to take a little bit of time away from all the doing that is to be done, especially in Q4, one of the busiest quarters for most of our locations. And we like to spend a little bit of time thinking. And we have a fantastic guest to think with today. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell people what you're known for?
Hi, I'm Bob Cooney, and I'm kind of known as the VR guy in the industry, I guess, to keep it short, which I never do, but I will, almost.
Don't people typically call you like a guru or something? Like I've seen that associated with your name.
Yeah, that's one of those words you're just not allowed to use yourself. Like other people can use that to describe you, but if you use it yourself, you're a total douchebag.
So you're definitely considered for our industry, at least here in America, the expert for location-based virtual reality. What's some of your background? What makes you the expert? Like you were kind of in this game before anyone else really was thinking about this game.
Well, I think sometimes you just stick around long enough and things come back, right? So I started one of the first laser tag companies, really the first successful big laser tag company called Laser Storm, 1989. We all wound up in 230 locations, 30 countries, took it public in an IPO in NASDAQ in 96, Inc. 500, 250, first fastest growing company in America. And since then I've done like 8 startups, right? So I've done a lot of startups. So I have a lot of compassion for entrepreneurs. And that's one of the things I love about our industry is it's very entrepreneurial. And along the way of building LaserStorm, one of my first customers was Edison Brothers Mall Entertainment. Some of you might remember them as the company that bought Dave & Buster's when they were at 2 locations. And they grew that chain. They opened mall arcades around the country, and they brought a product called Virtuality to America from Europe. And it was the very first VR arcade product, and it was in the early 90s. And I actually got to exhibit that at the LaserStorm booth. We launched it at IAPA, I think it was in 92, at the LaserStorm booth in Orlando. And since then, I've been really interested in virtual reality. And we opened VR laser tag arcades with Edison Brothers in the malls in the mid-90s. And I remember sitting back and saying, wow, if somebody could combine laser tag and VR, it would be amazing. And then forgot about that and did a whole bunch of other things in the bleeding edge of technology and amusements. And then went to IAPA in 2015, I think it was, when Oculus launched their Kickstarter for the very first Oculus Rift, and was going to write an article for Replay Magazine about all this new hype about VR and saying, don't believe the hype. And I got there and I saw a little company called Zero Latency from Australia. And I did it, and I walked around and I put on a headset and a backpack, and I had a gun. And they had this demo where I was walking across these lava rocks, and you had to like not fall. And I stopped and I froze, and I was like, oh, fuck. And I couldn't move. And I was like, wow, it's real. And I was just walking across concrete in a trade show floor, right? But my mind was fully tricked. And I was like, oh my God, it happened. I totally forgot. And I got so excited about VR. I flew to Australia to see their location and have been fully embedded in the VR industry since then, and kind of like really promoting it, because I do believe it's the future of our industry.
Did you just say you're going to write an article that said, don't believe the hype, and then you started believing the hype?
Yeah, it was true research. I went there to do true research, and the research changed my opinion. Yeah.
Awesome. So one of the reasons why I invited Bob to join us this week on Think Tank Thursday is IAPA is right around the corner, and this is the hype right now. Virtual reality, you cannot open a newsletter in this industry or peruse any of the magazines without seeing something about it, but it can be overwhelming for so many location-based entertainment owners who don't know the questions to ask or what they may be looking for. So I've asked Bob to come on to talk about like, what are those top questions either you should be asking yourself about your center, or you should be asking the manufacturer of that product that you're looking for. And so which way do you want to take this, Bob, first? How do you want to kick it off?
Look, I think that there's a couple of things, and I'm just putting the finishing touches on a buyer's guide for IAPA this year. And I think it's going to be it's going to be the most definitive written document on how to look at virtual reality in our industry, and it'll be a free download, and my guess is it'll be everywhere and you'll be able to see it, and it'll release sometime next week.
And as soon as we have a link to that, we'll share it on all of our social channels
Yeah.
as well.
But I think it boils down to a couple of key aspects. One is you need to decide why you're doing it. I always like start with why, right? And so why do you want VR? Is it because it's a checkbox on a equipment list and you just want to say that you have it? In that case, you're probably looking for an unattended VR product, and there's some great products on the market. LAI has VR Rabbids. It's probably the leading product in the industry. They have over 1,000 units. They've been doing it for 5 years. Kind of a no-brainer product. Kong from King Kong of Skull Island from Raw Thrills, is kind of the second product in that genre that is probably a safe bet for you. VRarsenal kind of came out with the unattended VR game cabinet. Those are simulators, they're rides. VRarsenal kind of was a leader in the VR game cabinet. They have some new products coming out at IAPA this year that kind of changed the game and increased reliability. We'll talk a little bit about some of the headwinds in a second. But you want to focus on, if you're not sure and you're just getting your toe in the water, find an unattended product. We know there's the labor crisis on. We know that everybody's short-staffed. And so that's a good way to get your toe in the water. Now, if you believe that VR is the future and you believe that immersive entertainment is coming and you're ready to market that to your customers and you want to differentiate yourself from competitors in your marketplace, then you might want to go a little bit deeper and look at some bigger attractions. And so when I look at the market, I look at there's attended and unattended, and there's games and attractions, right? And attractions is something that somebody would actually come to your venue to play it because it's there. Nobody's going to come. Nobody's too big a word. Most people won't come to your arcade to play an arcade game, but they will come for an attraction, right? Laser tag, bowling, ropes courses. There's lots of attractions, and usually we have 2 or 3 anchor attractions in our FECs. And so if you want an attraction, that's a deeper dive, and you have to really think about how much space do you have? Are you committed to staffing it? There really are no unattended attractions that are proven in this industry yet. And so you have to be committed to having an attendant there working it. If that attendant is going to work it, they need to be outgoing. They probably have to sell it because VR is still new to people. And so you have to sell it on the floor. And so those are some of the things you really have to think about. Am I committed or not? If I'm not committed, unattended, arcade game. If I am committed, attended, attraction. And we could just stop there for a minute and pause.
And I think that people should be honest with themselves, because I know we have some operators who are like, yeah, I love the attraction so much, I'll attend it. And then they start pulling people away from the attraction. And the thing is, these attractions, the attractions that have come out thus far can be overwhelming and intimidating to people who are not in our industry or are not used to these types of games. And so you see this structure and all of these TVs and all of that, and you're like, I don't know if I can play that. And if you don't have someone there enticing people to come in, building up the spectatorship and then saying, hey, doesn't it look cool? Let me walk you what they're doing. Why don't you play? And then I always suggest also giving them some free games in their pocket at times to entice people to come in, because if you can get them in a lot of times, the comfort factor increases, which means they'll play again on their own.
Yeah, and giving your employees an incentive to get people in it. Like, obviously I'm not going to get into comp programs and comp plans for employees, but you might need to break the mold a little bit and have performance-based compensation for the people that are running your VR attractions, and you'd be amazed at the difference that can make.
But back to just be honest with yourself, because if you're not and you end up not having it attended, a lot of times it's just taking up square footage that no one's going into because no one's enticing them to.
And look, and the other thing I want to address is, I'm kind of seen as an industry promoter, and I really do believe, and I have statistics that back this up, that VR is going to be the next major display technology for certainly for arcade video. But there's been some headwinds. Last year was tough. Obviously we had the whole hygiene theater thing going on during the pandemic, and that's blown over. But there's been some real technology challenges regarding reliability of headset cables. And then there was a supply chain problem where you couldn't get headset cables at all, and the prices of them spiked. And, these headsets are made of, they use the HDMI cables, and there's 26 like hair fine wires in those cables, and they're designed to go inside the wall behind your television, not to be like dangling from a cord with kids hanging on them and swinging on them and stuff. And so we're starting to see some new technology come out that this year, we'll see it at IAPA this year, the first of it. And I mentioned vArsenal. You'll see them. You'll see this new Focus 3 headset from HTC, which I'm really, really excited about. That's going to enable more wireless communication. So backpacks, gone. Cables, hopefully gone. We'll have to deal with some Wi-Fi interference with Wi-Fi 6E, but that's coming, and that's going to shift the problem, and that's more manageable. And so I think the reliability issue that we had, I just want to be honest with it. If you're not an early adopter, if you're not comfortable with technology or have somebody within your organization that's comfortable with technology, again, the attractions can be a bit overwhelming to maintain and keep them up so your employees can run them and your customers can have fun with them. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone through and I've seen a hologate, with, a dead headset on it. And some of that was cable based and supply chain based, but some of it was just pure neglect by operators.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so once an operator does that internal look and it's like, what kind of VR do I want? So we're going to IAPA. What should we be looking for? What are the things that should pop out to us? And what should
I think the other thing to think about is, dedicated games versus platforms. I think VR has really, when we first started this, Global VR was the first like VR product I really worked with. And we really promoted it as a platform. It was one of the first PC-based arcade games. I was doing research.
I'm going to back you up. What do you mean by game versus platform?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. So,
okay.
And so it used to be back in the 90s, arcade games were made with printed circuit boards. They were dedicated printed circuit boards. We didn't use PCs, computers, to build arcade games. In 97, Intel came out with this open arcade architecture, and in 2000, Microsoft joined, trying to get the arcade game industry to adopt the PC as the core technology for arcade games. And everybody was like, we'll never do that. We'll never do that. 10 years later, there were no more dedicated printed circuit boards. Everything was on PCs. And manufacturers were concerned about the reliability of computers, the reliability of hard drives, blue screen of death, all that Microsoft Windows shit, right? Sounds familiar with VR today. It's all the same thing people are concerned about VR today. And so I think but the nice thing about PCs is they're platforms. And virtual reality is a platform. We all know what platforms are now because we all have these phones in our pockets. They're platforms. And you can buy apps for them and you can play games on them. And so the virtual reality systems are platforms. You can put new games onto the systems. And so look at the manufacturer, the supplier, solution provider, whatever you want to call them. What's their library? What's their dedication to extending the life of the platform through new content and through upgrades? Because these games are more expensive than arcade games. If you're going to look at the ROI of a VR attraction or a VR arcade game versus just a plain arcade video game, the price is going to be 2 or 3x. Is it going to generate 2 or 3x the revenue? Maybe, maybe not. But will you be able to change the software a year from now, and a year from then, and a year from then, and upgrade with the latest headset 2 years from now? And so look for upgrade paths that manufacturers are offering, both through content and hardware upgrades, because that's going to help you get more legs out of the game and a better return on investment over time.
Awesome. So the ability to add, so not a single game, having it grow, all of those things, which is a big difference than, virtual reality came out a couple of years ago and then stopped short because the technology, and I think a lot of what you just explained was just not there yet.
Yeah. Well, it was really early, and early adopters and pioneers want the latest thing. There's a model called Crossing the Chasm. It's kind of a model that came out of Silicon Valley almost 20 years ago now, and it talks about the adoption of technology products. And there's this, so you have early adopters and pioneers who are willing to pay the price, both financially and inconvenience and bugs and shit, for being first. But the mainstream market isn't willing to put up with that shit. And so
Mhm.
in order for a product or a technology to cross the chasm to the mainstream market, it has to solve the affordability and the reliability issues. And VR is on the crux of that. And I expect 2023 will be the year that we actually cross the chasm in this industry.
Oh, interesting. Um, so I also want to ask you a bit about demographics as terms of um, a lot of the location-based entertainment that gear towards younger kids, I think, have stayed away from some of the virtual reality options that are out there because they just don't think it applies to them. But I have seen a change in the market of some things that are coming out that are geared more towards birthday parties, younger kids, those types of things. What do you know about those that are coming?
Yeah, thanks. So look, the virtual reality headset manufacturers, so HTC, Meta, Quest, those are probably the two big ones that everybody's heard of, all recommend that VR headsets are for kids 12 and over, 13 or over, or something like
Okay.
that. And that came from some very early fear based on the long-term impact of having lenses close to your eyes for long periods of time. In our industry, the games last somewhere between 3 and 15 minutes. And so it's just never been an issue for us. And
Yeah.
the headsets
They're
weren't
not at
designed.
home sitting in their living room with it on for hours. They're just
Exactly, right.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it's never been an issue for us, but people read those warning labels and they were like afraid of, oh, can I actually use this for kids? There's now been some long-term research that shows that there's no impact on kids. There's no impact for long-term use. HTC just released a study 2 weeks ago after a 6-month longitudinal study of a bunch of people, and there's been no impact on eyesight or any of that shit, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and so, but I think solution providers have still been slow to adopt and go into that market. The one exception for that is a company called Spree, which a company I've worked with now for 4 or 5 years. I met them in 2017. I'm on their board of directors, full disclosure. And they've really focused on the 12 and under market. And they have they've created games that are specifically designed for kids. I've seen 4-year-olds play it
Wow.
and have fun. I think they suggest 6 to 12, but it's really that core birthday party market. Birthday parties, over 74% of birthday parties are 4 to 12-year-olds. And the games are quick and casual, and they can have 10 people in an arena together, so a whole party can play together.
That's a big deal, 10 people in the arena.
And so I'm a big fan of them, and they've really focused on their core competency, which is fun, active games for kids. And it's perfect for our segment, our market. And if you're at IAPA, you should definitely go check them out.
Okay. And then there are some arenas that are out there in the market too. Let's see. There's someone who spoke at your VR summit. Valo? Is that their name?
So that's a new category. So Valo Motion has a product called the Valo Arena, and it's really a new category of product that I've been talking about. I'm calling it the mixed reality playground. So it's not virtual reality. You don't put on a headset, but you go in a room. They use projectors, and what happens is they project a video of your body into the virtual arena that you see on the screen. And so you see yourself in a virtual environment. And so it's the opposite of an avatar, and it's yourself. And it's really cool, and it's active, and you jump around, and the cameras track your movement. And they have a floor is lava game where you have to like stand on these tiles and guess which tiles are going to fall.
My girls love that TV show.
It's awesome. And the game is better than the TV show. And so, and so that's a fun one. And you're going to see there's another company called InnoWise, which has a product called Qubit, which I haven't done yet, but they're launching at IAPA. And they made the Arcadia 6-player arena. And so they've got experience in VR. And now they have this, again, it's kind of a mixed reality arena where you go in and you shoot. It uses VR tracking and a controller, but you're shooting at the walls like you're inside a giant video game that's projected on the wall. So that's kind of another new category that we're seeing. And so we're seeing developers use the core tech that's coming out of VR, but applying it in ways without headsets, because headsets have challenges: reliability, durability, cost, labor, hygiene, all of that stuff. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out in the market.
it can't help but to think about as you're explaining some of these. Do you remember the original Nintendo, and it had the mat on the floor and you had to like run on it and jump hurdles and different things like that?
Yeah, it was called Wii
Totally fun.
Fitness. It was huge. Yeah, Wii Fitness. It was awesome.
So I totally just had that image of like me running and trying to jump over hurdles and it showing up on the screen there.
Yeah.
Okay, so to recap, unattended
There's-
LA games.
There's one more thing that I want to, because when I was talking about the original of this concept of VR and laser tag combining, I think this is the year we're going to see that. And so Creative Works, who's been really, the largest and most successful laser tag arena designer,
Yes.
probably in the world, certainly in the US. They've been really, they were an early adopter of VR. They partnered with Hologate in 2017 to bring Hologate to market, which was the, by far the first big successful VR product. And I'd say LAI with Rabbids and Hologate are probably the two that have led the market. Mm-hmm. And so Creative Works was early in because they knew that eventually VR was going to supplant laser tag. And I've been saying that for years now, and now 2023 is the year we're going to first see it. And so they have a product called Limitless they've been working on, which mixes virtual reality and physical laser tag in an arena. And I think you're going to be able to actually play a version of that on the show floor this year. And so I would definitely check that out. And one more plug, for Hologate, due respect, they've got a new product coming out. They partnered with Sony, and they're bringing out Ghostbusters VR Academy. I had a chance to try it in London at IAAPA, and it was really fun. And then they have a second version of it for their Blitz VR driving simulator, where you'll be able to drive an experimental version of the Ecto Ghostbusters vehicle that flies. And rumor is Sony's going to put the flying Ecto in the new Ghostbusters movie that comes out Christmas 2023. And so when you talk about an attraction, being able to take something that's really different, that's based on a movie, and that movie is going to come out late next year, I think that's something that could drive a lot of traffic. So those are some of the things I'd be looking at and thinking about as I walk the floor at IAAPA.
It's really exciting time because the divide between age demographic seems to be narrowing. The divide in how you can use this technology seems to be narrowing. Like all of those things just seem to be closer to reality. Years after you said, these two things should conjoin.
Yeah. I forgot about that. And thanks to Zero Latency for really showing what was possible, because I think they're bringing that to market in 2015 was the thing that opened my eyes, certainly.
So I would be amiss to let you leave here without asking you, what do you think are the trends that we will see in the near future in terms of not just virtual reality, but maybe just technology? You've been on the bleeding edge of other technologies too, for our industry that we should be looking out for or maybe preparing for.
Yeah, look, I think I'm going to stick with virtual reality and maybe use the metaverse. So this is the brand new Oculus Quest Pro. I just got.
You've already done your unboxing
this week. Yeah, some of you might have seen the unboxing. And I've been using this as a productivity tool this week. And I've actually been writing the guide in virtual reality because I travel all the time. I'm a nomad. I have this little MacBook Pro with a 13-inch screen, and working on multiple documents at once can be really hard. And so, but I can't travel with multiple monitors. This actually lets me have 3 big monitors up in front of me floating in the room, and I can actually see through to my keyboard. So I can type on the keyboard, but the video is all being projected into mixed reality in front of me through a headset. And so, Microsoft and Accenture have announced a partnership where they're bringing Microsoft 365 to the Quest Pro. Accenture is going to teach Fortune 500 companies how to use this as a new productivity tool. And so what's going to happen is, you're going to start seeing that work its way into the workplace. And if you think about smartphones, it started with the BlackBerry, right? The BlackBerry was the first thing that taught us that we could have internet away from our desks. And next thing you know, we've got smartphones and supercomputers in our pocket. And I think this notion of using VR at work is going to teach people that we can have 3D computing everywhere. And that's going to drive the adoption of the metaverse that you hear talking about. And I don't want to get into the metaverse thing, but it is real. It is coming. It's going to impact how we train our employees. It's going to impact how we entertain ourselves. It's going to impact how we work. and it's going to create better social experiences for people from their home. And the thing that we have to think about as an industry, which is why you want to be thinking about and experimenting with VR now, at some point in the near future, people are going to have great entertainment and they're going to be able to meet with their friends without putting on pants in their living room. And they're going to do it through VR. And at that point, we really have to think about, as an industry, how do we differentiate our experiences even more than we do now? Because we talk about social experiences. Social experiences are going to move into the home. And when social experiences move into the home, what are we going to be able to do differently? And that's why I think you see so many FECs pivoting to food and beverage, because that's something that's still going to be unique and differentiated. And so I think the adoption of technology in the home and in the work is going to shift what people leave the home to do, why they leave the home to do things. And I think that's going to have a massive impact on our industry in the next 5 or 10 years.
Thank you for that. I have a signature think tank question. I think you know. And so you've been asked it before, but it can change. What do you do? What are you currently doing to grow yourself and others?
Yeah, I think last time I said reflection, right?
Yes, you and I interviewed you and Kylie in the same week, and you both gave me the exact same answer. It was so weird.
and so I think this time what's really for me is been meditating, and specifically meditating on the concept of abundance. And one of the big shifts that I had in my life was I was working for a company called Buzz Time that does all the trivia games and bars like Buffalo Wild Wings.
I was a bartender for many years. I know exactly what Buzz Time is.
And when I left Buzz Time, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I started volunteering, just mentoring entrepreneurs. And that sense of giving without anything in return really shifted my life and shifted the opportunities that came to me. And then during the pandemic, I kind of closed in on myself a little bit and got away from that and started really focusing on what's in it for me, which is great if you're a marketer, but not so great if you're a human. And so I've shifted that in the last few months and really got back to this concept of abundance and giving without anything, expecting anything in return. And it's shifted everything again, and opportunities are flowing, and I'm happier, and so I think that meditating and focusing on the concept of abundance. There's a great book by Deepak Chopra called Abundance that came out this year, and I've gone through it twice now on Audible, and highly recommended.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bob, for your time. If people want to find you, where do you send them these days? bobcooney.com. And if you want to sign up to get the very first download of the IAAPA 2022 VR Buyer's Guide, you can go to bobcooney.com/guide and drop your email address in there, and hopefully we'll have it in your inbox next week. And do you have a home spot at IAAPA, or are you just going to be traveling among some booths?
I'll be floating. I spend a lot of time with the guys at VRarsenal. I'll be spending some time with the guys at Spree. We'll see if VRBox makes it or not. Obviously, their product's stuck in a container shipping yard in Chicago for 2 months, and so we're not sure what's going to happen there. But I'll be floating around. You'll be able to see me. I'll have a mobility scooter this year, and just to be able to get around easier. I had surgery on my knee last year, and
That's right. I remember that now. Yeah.
You might see me in a little buggy floating around.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again to my 2022 digital sponsors. Thank you to Bob for his time today. And then thank you for spending your time with us. And we'll see you on the next episode of Think Tank Thursday.
Hello, my name is Brittany Betty, and I am the Regional Sales Director and Business Development Manager over at Betson Enterprises. Here at Betson, we are so excited to be a part of Trainertainment this year. For those of you who are unaware of Betson and what we do, We are the leading distributor of coin-operated equipment, and we are a family-owned business that has been around for 85 plus years. Please take a moment to watch a quick video on an introduction on the phased approach and turnkey solution we can offer you in your facility. Thank you so much for taking the time for watching. And if you have any questions and would like to reach out to me, I can be reached at my email at bbetty, BBETTI, at Betson, BETSON.com. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions or needs you might have in the family entertainment industry, and I would be happy to assist you. Thank you and have a great day.
Are you looking for ways to maximize profits and consolidate systems and processes? Join the Party Center Software and Party Center Pay family. Our suite of solutions makes it easy for you to run your family entertainment center or event business. Our online party booking system makes booking parties and events a breeze. Our point of sale system, digital waivers, and reports will help you simplify steps for your staff and make your guest experience seamless. Our online store allows you to sell products, gift certificates, and other services anytime, even when you're sleeping. But it doesn't end there. All of the solutions mentioned connect with our payment processing platform, Party Center Pay, making it easier than ever to manage your business. Not only can Party Center Pay save you money by cutting out extraneous fees, but Party Center Pay makes it easy to take online deposits or full payments, and we even have a contactless payment option. Paired with our incredible support team and dedicated customer success managers, growing and managing your business has never been easier. Schedule a call with us today to learn more.
My wife and I, this is a partnership with her and I, so we both agreed that, in creating Scary Strokes, that we want to make sure that we have the best available of everything. Embed just seemed like the perfect fit. It was pretty streamlined and had the point of sales and the software for the redemption, and it just seemed, natural to us. So we've been with Embed since the very beginning. And so when Embed, was introducing the mobile wallet, it seemed like a good opportunity for us to jump on, and it's wonderful. I mean, you reload your card from it, you redeem your tickets from it. There's nothing not to like about it. I mean, it's very convenient. It's very clever for sure.
Empowering your employees to manage your redemption area with confidence can be a challenge. The redemption counter is often the last stop your customers make before leaving your facility. That's why we do everything we can to help your staff make that experience one worth returning for. Our service packages allow you to reap the benefits of expertise and customer support, no matter where your business is in its maturity. The Advanced and Pro Service Bundles are unmatched by any other redemption provider in the industry. They allow you to get the support you need when you need it. Gain confidence in your redemption program, knowing your employees are taking advantage of benefits like exclusive redemption training, regular planogram refreshes, product performance and spending reports, and much more. All accessible from an online portal customized to your business. Learn more at services.redemptionplus.com.